Hello everyone. So I do apologise, but I've been forced to, in this instance, revert back to the old crappy propped up phone in the camera setup. But hopefully it's not too crappy, just due to time constraints. But I wanted to mention that I'm definitely not a teacher of this. And I don't even think it's possible to have, in the conventional sense, really someone who is a teacher of this. I mean, there can be a teacher of skills, a teacher of methods, inquiry methods, but this awakening is definitely not something you can teach, or not something that can be given. Because it's all, let's say, within you. And if I ever seem like or talk like I'm some sort of teacher or authority on this topic which this channel is about, then I apologise for that, and it's probably due to habit, because in my line of work career I assumed the position of an authority in my field and a teacher and a mentor. So I might have the tendency to, out of habit, assume a position where I might seem like an authority on something or a teacher of something, and it's not intentional. It's maybe just a habitual thing, personality thing. But it's definitely not something that can be taught directly, I don't think. But anyway, I wanted to talk about the knowingness and experience, or this aware knowingness or knowing awareness, which is all we can really say about our experience, and that which appears in our experience is that it's made of the knowing of it, or the knowing awareness of it. And that knowing awareness is something that we recognize as the most fundamental essence of what we are. That recognition that all experience, all which appears within experience or as experience, is nothing more than the knowing of that. It's made of this knowingness. As in, what is it that knows? That knowing awareness, that knowingness, isn't necessarily a thing. You could maybe even describe it as nothing. But if it's nothing, then simultaneously it's everything, all things and no things at the same time. So there's this recognition through process of elimination, or through inquiry. We recognize clearly in an experiential and authentic way that this knowingness is what we are, is what I am. But this knowingness also isn't separate from that which is known. So anything that appears within experience is the knowingness, is the awareness. As in, there aren't separate things in the knowingness or the awareness. There's just the known, or the knowingness. And initially, we see that which knows thoughts is the thoughts, is the very substance of what the thoughts are made from. So the thoughts know themselves. There isn't something separate from the thoughts, which the thoughts refer to, that is of its own inherent reality, that observes the thoughts. The thoughts are just thoughts, and the thoughts know themselves. As in this initially for me there was a separation between and a resistance to this thought narrative self, this mind entity. I believed that I was an entity made from thoughts and narrative and emotions and experience. I believed that it was just an assumption. I believed that this me, this separate entity, separate from all experience, observing all experience, was a real thing. And upon investigation, I could see that all there was the knowing, as in that which was constant. The only thing that was constant throughout all experience was the knowing of it, especially thoughts. So the knowing of thoughts was that which was constant throughout all thoughts, but there was nothing found separate from the thoughts that knows them. The thoughts, the thinking, and the knowingness are the same essence, the same thing, that you can't really call a thing. And it was that collapse of duality which led to the collapse of the resistance to thoughts and this imagined self. And then suddenly thoughts weren't a problem anymore. The thoughts weren't resisted anymore. This ego, this separate entity, didn't have to be resisted or didn't have to be ignored or pushed away, because it was seen that it wasn't even there in the first place. All there was thought. And as I said, the thought and the knowingness are the same thing. And that became very clear, and with that realization dropped away an enormous spiritual burden. A burden of having to resist an illusion. In labelling something an illusion, I was reifying that as a thing. In resisting the self, I was fueling the self with the resistance. But that leaning into the substance of experience, leaning into the substance of thought, which is the knowing of it. Is there any experience that isn't known? Is there any experience that isn't knowing awareness? So I'm going to use knowingness and awareness as synonyms, as in meaning the same thing. There's that recognition that's very paradoxical and very hard to describe, but it's not like I recognise myself to be something separate from the mind narrative entity, the thought self. It was seen that thought self was made of the knowing of it, and the knowing of it is what I am. There was no separation, duality there after a certain point, but that witness phase, that separating from or recognising almost from a different angle thought and narrative self was an integral part of this awakening, this recognition. But when that collapsed, then there was just a freedom with the thoughts. The thoughts didn't have to be silenced. The thoughts didn't have to be an enemy. Because we make an enemy of the thoughts, then we are giving reality to the thoughts themselves, giving reality to what the thoughts are saying. But when we clearly and sincerely recognize ourselves to be this knowingness, then the search for it ends, because we're not trying to find something. We recognize that we are that. And there's a kind of open relaxation, an expansion that comes with that is very liberating. As in, nothing needs to be done, nothing needs to be looked for. We're not looking for something, we're not looking for the end of something. It already is the way it is. But then, that knowingness, where is that? Where is the knowingness? In these senses, in this experience, is there an experience separate from the knowing of it? Or that which seems manifest, that which seems to appear as the experience, is that the very knowingness itself? As in, this world of form, the only thing that we can truly say about it is that it's known. It appears, let's say, in and as awareness. It wouldn't be there, it wouldn't exist or be experienced if there wasn't the knowingness, the awareness of it. So its very substance is knowingness. So where is the division between that which is known and the knowing, form and awareness? Where is the knowingness? Where is the awareness that we are? This is when the center point starts to dissolve. This is when the division between the idea, the thought of awareness shooting out from the center point onto a world, that paradigm, that subject-object assumption starts to dissolve. Because you see that that's not happening, it's just simultaneous for that to be happening. That knowingness doesn't know distance. Or if it does know distance, it's already known within knowingness. You maybe think of it as is there a separation between subject and object in your direct experience? Are they completely interdependent to the point where subject and object don't actually make sense? So if I'm looking at something seemingly out in the world there from this point, from this subject over here and an object over there, would that's seen be seen if there wasn't the seer and the seen? Is that duality, are those two seeming separate things ever separate, actually separate? So, what's seen? Where is the seeing? Where is the seeing? Can the seeing be separated from the seen? Try and trace your way back. Try and find where the subject starts and where the object starts. Where the subject ends and where the object ends. whatever I'm looking at seemingly in the world, where is the awareness of it? Am I aware of that object over there? Or am I aware of that object over here? Where is over there and where is over here? Or does that even make sense in direct experience? With the sounds, where is the sound? And it's essential to have this undoubtable recognition, I think, before exploring this, because otherwise the reality of the thoughts that explain space and time, that assume space and time, will be too strong, too solid, too real, and that'll kick in instantly and be very distracting. It would be very doubting and unbelievable. But where is awareness? Where are you? That object out there, where is it? Without a story, without a narrative, where is it? It's only out there in relation, or over there in relation to you, seemingly over here, but where are you? If this form, if this world is made of the knowingness of it, all there is knowingness, all there is the awareness, this experience, then where is it? Can it be located? And there starts to become a mysterious quality about these senses, this world of form. There starts to be a closeness to it, a familiarity to it. You start to recognize yourself in the senses, in the world, not just limited to this center point, to this physical body. The knowingness could be said to be everywhere and nowhere, completely unlocatable. But it doesn't need to be located, because in order to do that, we would have to take a separate position and deduce that. We would have to separate ourselves, create something separate from the experience to experience it and then take a position. You could think of it maybe as all of this, your experience appears within your mind, or the awareness of it, it's known within your mind. Where is your mind? Where is the mind in direct experience? This can never be explained, and there's not an answer to this. The answer to this is just the experience, the pure, immediate, simultaneous experience of that knowingness I talked about. And this mystery will just consume you. You just dissolve into this mystery continuously and infinitely, and it's the most incredible thing. But also the most beautiful, natural thing, because that's just what is anyway. It's just the way it was with this non-dual realization. We're not looking for something different. We're not looking to understand something. We're just falling into what already is, becoming so immersed, so close, that we can't find ourselves anymore. How do you recognize nothing? I remember at the start I said after the initial recognition there was an expansive yet contained feeling, an infinite yet close feeling to it. And that was my way of describing this non-dual experience, because it's so bizarre, it's so impossible to describe, but it's the most obvious and simple thing, because it doesn't need to be described, it doesn't need to be understood, it doesn't need to be got, it just is what is, simply and obviously just this. When you can continually just be lost in it, I've become so close to it that separation, that distinction, that division doesn't make sense anymore and can just be forgotten, continually forgotten. Where is the knowing? Where is awareness? It's very, very subtle, very unbelievable. And if there's any urge to, not just almost quite there, I can almost understand it, then just completely drop that, because the mind just stops there. The mind will get to this point where it's like, I think I can understand, I think I quite get, and then you can just leave it there, and that's it. Just go to that mystery and then just stop. That sense of urgency, that sense of need to know, need to understand, it's already known, it's already understood. And then you recognize yourself in and as everything, every experience. You become the experience. Is nothing but experience, nothing but the knowing, and there's no way to explain it. There's no need for it to be captured, because it's too free for that. Anyway, I need to go. Talk to you later.